I just try and show up as the same person everywhere. Like, seen a lot of people that are one way at work, one way at church, one way on their street. And I try to be consistently the same everywhere. So treat people how I want to be treated, love people, also just lead not with assumptions. So try to meet everybody where they are. I also don't like, I'm not like preachy about my faith, but I think everyone knows who works with me. So I try and show up as the most like genuine representation of myself, because I know, especially like in tech, there's fewer of us. There's probably also like we rightfully get a bad rap a lot of times, and so I want to be the person that, you know, we're talking about work, but again, back to like on my street, I also want my neighbors to be like, well, whatever I had conception wise, like this guy's a little bit different than that.
Yeah. All right. I am sitting here. Welcome back, everyone. I am here with a dear old friend, but who I haven't seen for a number of years. Stu Smith. We're sitting here in your office right here in Austin, Texas. Share with the audience what you do for a living.
Yeah. So I'm head of design for 2 products at Atlassian. So there's Confluence, which is a knowledge management collaboration tool. And then there's Trello, which is well known for being a personal productivity project management tool.
So when all this started, how long have you been here?
6.5 years.
Yeah. Before, when I knew you, you were still at Texas A&M. You had just graduated.
UT. Yeah.
Oh, UT. Okay. Yeah. But then you
Big
were
distinction in Austin. It has to be UT.
Yeah. And you were playing on the worship team with your brother and sister-in-law, Steven Starr.
Yeah. So I'll point out the easy point of confusion. So we played at Breakaway at Texas A&M.
Yeah.
All the while I was like a mole, driving from Austin every Tuesday to play at Texas A&M.
Really?
So, I intentionally didn't have like a Longhorn sticker on my car because I don't know what's gonna happen if I.
And here I thought you were Aggie the whole time. Okay.
Nah, man, I'm redeemed.
Yeah. And during those periods of time, like how did you get started serving with your brother and your sister-in-law? And how did you get into the tech space?
Yeah. I mean, I honestly just started like playing in my youth group band. Like, I think like churches provide this awesome thing where it's like, okay, there is a place to play. There's musicians to play with. And also like early 2000s, like playing electric guitar in a worship band was like, oh, okay, like these are things that people are doing.
Yeah.
I think now it's still really commonplace. And I feel like I'm describing it in a way that diminishes it. It was like really fantastic to have this moment where it's like, okay, like it's in a safe spot.
Yeah.
I started playing out like with my brother's band. I think I was like 17. So I really like incubated like in my church youth group, and then played with him for a long time, played with another artist, Robbie C, for a while, Andy Melvin here in Austin at the Austin Stone back in the day. And so like, to get to your question of like, well, okay, music and then like a tech job. I've always been like a creative, like artist type person as well. Like, I kind of have the build of a football player, but I'm not a football person. And so like all the while our other brother, Will, was trying to get me to join football teams, I was like, that seems like it takes away from my time, like painting or drawing. And then I found music at the same time, but yeah, so I really like have always developed that like creative visual side. And when I got into the music scene, inevitably people needed like album artwork. Like I remember specifically, I was like doing a recording session. I think I had just gotten like Photoshop for the first time. And one of the guys there was like, do you know anybody that does album art? I'm like, man, I'll take a shot.
Yeah.
And so it kind of snowballed from like doing things like that. And inevitably like somebody I would do like album art for, like had a parent that owned a business or something. So music was like my inroads to design. I got into design and tech way backwards, and we didn't grow up in a context that anyone around us did technology things. Like I think it wasn't until I was like 18 years old that I was like, oh, people make websites. I had no idea. So anyway, my creative and like tech side started to like flourish alongside of music, and then honestly, I got to a point where I was like, I think I'm more passionate about design and the intersection of business and design, which is like really good for tech and UX stuff. So I've had this journey of like, it started really as like the side hustle to my other side hustle. Then it became full-time job. And then that turned from doing like brand and creative things into like building websites and apps. So that's where I'm at now.
Because I remember you had your own business building websites for when I still remember when you were first starting, I was building websites.
Yeah. I had a shop called Sputnik for 8 years, which I think was still like foundational, probably like best part of my career. Like in terms of like success criteria there was like mainly having fun. And so this is like before I had kids and needed to like be an adult. So we would do a lot of things where it's like, well, this is just something we want to do because it's interesting. And but also like back then, Austin startup scene was like growing right as I was growing my business. And so we would have people come in and they would hire us to do a logo, but then they'd be like, hey, do you know anything about like how to, design the first version of our app? Or like, do you know anything about responsive design? Any of these things? And we'd be like, sure, we'll figure it out. And so there was a lot of like fun in that period of time. There was like emerging technology, growth in Austin, and just like a little bit of a moment where like, even if we failed, it wasn't going to be that big of a deal. And we didn't know better, which was awesome. So,
because everything was still like even website building and everything like that. It is now these days you have all these free templates and none of that existed back in the day.
Yeah, no, it's like I remember the first time actually at South by Southwest, I saw Squarespace demo to me. I was like, oh my gosh, it's going to put me out of a job. This is insane. So
switching gears to what you're doing here at Atlassian, how did that come about?
Yeah, so I joined here. This is the first time I've worked at a large tech company. I joined just as an individual contributor designer. I had kind of my like chapters of the career had been worked for myself for a long time. We've talked a lot about that. I worked at a couple startups, and then joined the Trello team. It was right after they had been acquired, so it was cool to like work with that original team. And I joined as a fan. Like to bring it back to music, this would be like one of your favorite bands calling and being like, hey, our guitar player just quit. Do you want to come do this? And that was that was the call. It was like, hey, one of the original Trello designers is leaving. Would you want to interview? And so I joined very much as like a fan of the product. And then have just like, since I've been here, the company's grown dramatically. And there's been like lots of opportunities. It's been awesome.
Yeah, because it's a European company, Atlassian, right?
Australian.
Okay, got it. And so even like if people ask you, what's creativity? How do you come up with new ideas? Do you sit in a room with different people and everyone just throws their ideas out there and you're able to figure out what's best? How do you work on the creativity part?
Oh, it's so many things. So I mean, there is the value of like workshop, getting together, collaboration. That can't be matched. Like we will often do things called spikes where it's like, all right, we have this problem. How would we get in a room and figure this out? So like a spike is like specifically a moment where we come together because we're a global company. Like I'll go to Australia in April for one of these specific things. It's like, we have a problem. We need to figure it out.
So you call it a spike. Oh, yeah. Okay.
So it just means you're going like super deep on that one topic. And so there's a whole toolkit of like facilitation techniques and like rituals that you can go through. Also, the other thing that can't be matched or can't be done away with is deep focus time. One of my like productivity heroes is Cal Newport, and like his like deep work concept comes through. So like even still that I'm a leader, I value so much like 4 hours of uninterrupted time. And specifically like for me as a design leader, like emphasis on design is like I want to sit in Figma for multiple hours and actually workshop the problem myself. So I find it as a balance of there's like the spike time, but then there's like the cave time where like
cave time. Okay. Spike and cave. Okay. I'm learning these. Wow.
So, I mean, spike isn't the lasting thing. Cave time is me. Like, and I learned that I had a designer back in my Sputnik days who was pretty introverted, and he that was where I got that term. He was like, man, I just need some cave time. So those are big. And then also the biggest thing right now is like constraints. Like, I think constraints are actually a very valuable mechanism in the creative process of saying you could do everything. Like we'll often talk too about like having a concept car for an idea. So say we're designing a new feature, we'll say, okay, give me the unconstrained vision of like the concept car. but helpful to talk about the constraints. And like in layman's terms, you'd be like, well, is this a flying car? Is it a car that also can go in the water? Constraints in like tech would be like, we have 2 engineers that can work on this. And we have 2 months and there's a timeline. So what do you do within those constraints? And how do you triangulate? Because you can be wildly creative and like come up with something awesome, but like at the end of the day, design is a business discipline. So it's creative, but it's a business discipline that has to have outcomes tied to it. Otherwise, we're just artists, and that's not. Design and art are not the same thing.
I love that. This whole, like, even the cave time, I'm an introvert by nature, Stu. And so I can have all these meetings, but at the end of the day, I feel like I didn't get anything done.
It's probably why you're also like, oh gosh, I'm so drained by the end of the day.
Versus I can have 1 or 2 meetings, but yet I have 4 hours where I could just devote it. I feel like, wow, I got a lot done today.
Well, and for me too, like those like cave time moments are like the moments where I can actually have like breakthroughs into things. Like I'll have breakthroughs in like collaborative moments, but also like if I have time to ruminate on a problem, fail on my own. Like if I try things out, then I'm like, oh, that doesn't work. Then that's fine. Like, but I can point back to specific moments where I've like done that deep work and I'm like, okay, that unlocked a whole line of thinking for me.
So do you recommend tangibly for those who are watching, do you then say, okay, just do 2 meetings, or do you say, okay, load up on your cave time and then next day load up on your meetings? What works for you?
I've done all of them. It's like, like compare it to like doing fad diets. I've read everything. What has worked for me right now is adapting to what the schedules of my partners are. So in this context, I have a lot of people that I work with on the West Coast. And so I know that reliably, like before 11 a.m., I'm usually pretty free. And so that's kind of like, rather than, because I have done this, I've done, I only do meetings on Wednesdays or whatever. I've tried that, but inevitably it's like, well, we have a high priority thing. Like, that's cool that you need to do that. But so I just pick out the things of like, okay, it's in my calendar. It's titled focus time. Do not schedule unless you've asked first. And so that's kind of what I've done. In other contexts, like I worked on a product out of Australia for a year. They don't work on our Fridays. So that was like ultimate cave time. I just had a whole day of like uninterrupted. So
as a team leader now, you sit there with a group of people, everyone has their ideas. How do you as a team leader make a decision? You're not going to make everyone happy. How do you make the decision?
That's kind of the thing. You have to, at least in my role, you have to adopt the mentality of you're the design director. It's I work with people at varying levels of seniority, some that are way further along in their career than I am, some that have just graduated college. But ultimately, like, it's clear my expectations at work, like the expectations of me are to make these decisions. And so I know that that's the job. And like, I don't lead through consensus. And that sounds a little bit harsh, but I'm like, I want to hear everybody's point of view, but consensus and everyone having a say is not exactly like how fantastic products are built. Like, you need somebody that's the editor, kind of like, so you can have a room full of amazing ideas, but you need somebody to like cut through the noise and be like, this is the one from my context that is going to head us in the right direction. So it's always around like, again, back to constraints. Does this map the constraints? Does it also, like, a lot in my role is thinking about how does this, and gosh, I was even debating like this icon today, like, but I was like, this icon is important because it relates to all the other products that we sell.
Did that come naturally, or did you have a hard time initially dealing with rejection, dealing with people disagreeing with you, criticizing you, or you said, you know what, from the beginning, this was easy for me?
No, I've struggled with being too nice. Like, so in high school, I think my like yearbook award was everybody's friend, it's like, so that was like a growth area of like, okay, like natural tendencies. I want everyone to be happy, everyone aligned, really do the work to get in there. But I'm needing now to be a little bit like sharper with feedback. Still nice and gracious, but like, it's been probably a thing of just the last 5 years of like getting into more elevated leadership spots where I'm like,
was there a certain person who influenced your leadership style that you modeled yourself or who kind of mentored you along the way?
I've had some pretty like epic titans of like manager type folks, like but then also peers. So there's a guy, Greg Story, that led another design agency. He's always still one of the people that I go to.
Yeah.
My first manager, Chris, when I joined Atlassian, was another fantastic like servant leader. He led from the back a little bit, which was nice. Like, so he would always put me in situations, but heavily coach me on like how I could be the leader and the face of things. So that was awesome. In a way, it felt like if you had somebody like almost like Ratatouille style, like in the background. But then the other thing I was gonna say is like, so these are people that like modeled direct like design and like people management stuff for me. I've learned so much stuff from my individual contributor team, though. Like, and there's so many people like that I can point to of like, well, this person taught me how to make our products more accessible. This is a person that taught me more about like how design systems work. And so, yeah, I think I can give a lot of credit to like these mentors, but also just the people around me. The talent level I work with is crazy.
And I love this whole idea of situational leadership. How you manage each person is very different based on their personality. Some people, you got to encourage them. Some people, you got to push them. Some people, you got to be direct with those guys.
Yes.
But they and them teach me things because what they're good at, I'm not good at. So I learn from them all the time.
Yeah, I mean, that's massive. And like, there's even really specific examples here of like, there are disciplines that like content design is like how our products speak and how they're clear. That's not a discipline. Like writing is mainly their output. I'm not a writer. I'm not a content designer, but that reports into me. And I've had to like, I've had to really lean on my like content staff to ramp me up because I'm also like responsible for at the end of the half assessing their performance. So like that was a huge learning curve for me.
Well, translate that to the ministry world. I watch too many pastors who feel like, okay, if I'm the leader, I have to be good at everything. No, you're not going to be good at everything, but you got to stay out of their way if they're good at it.
Yeah, no, that's the trap. And like, you also like, there's a fantastic book called The Advice Trap that talks about this of like, you can get in these spots of like elevated leadership. And almost the worst thing you could do is like give advice on a thing that you don't know about. Like a lot of times when people come to you for your input, you want to be able to unblock them and say, well, this is what I would do. It's like, well, that person's probably closer to it and maybe has more expertise. And you fall into this trap. Trying to remember, I think Brene Brown had that author on, and like, anyway, that's a fantastic read too for folks of like, your job as a leader is not always to give advice.
And I find that if they somehow within that job mess up, my job is to sit there and lecture them and say, okay, what could we have done better that we could learn from the situation?
Yeah, exactly. Like tech in general is big about like pre-mortems, like what could go wrong, and then post-mortems, like what did go wrong. So
if I was to ask you, going back to your music days or even your early childhood, all this stuff, what did all of that stuff, the days when you used to drive over to Texas A&M, all that, how did they prepare you for what you're doing now? Like people are always struggle. God has always been working in your life. He's always been preparing you for this moment.
Yeah.
How did your past prepare you for this?
Yeah. I actually did like a small lightning talk about this at a design offsite a few years ago, but so it taught me to be a good bandmate is the thing. So if you're in a band, you end up, well, this is funny. It's like you end up seeing as somebody that sees a band play, they might be on stage for an hour or an hour and a half. But if we're playing in Chicago and we live in Texas, that means we traveled all day to get there. We spent the night before having dinner together, prepping, we go to sound check. So like a 1 hour time on stage together playing is the smallest example of what it means to be in a band. And so all along the way, you have these moments of like, wow, this person's getting on my nerves, or this person has a really weird way of communicating, or this person likes food I don't like. And so you're always bearing with people in a band. And even like the people that you love the most and are your closest friends are always going to be that way. And so that's a concept I bring to work all the time is like, how do you in this moment be a good bandmate? And so sometimes that also means it comes down to the performance itself.
Yeah.
So here's a good example. Like if you're a guitar player in a band and you're always taking a guitar solo, anytime there's not singing, then that's like showboating and kind of gloating in that moment. How it would be in a business context is this person's always taking credit. They're always shining the light on themselves. A good bandmate elevates other people, gives other people places to say. So that bandmate concept is like something I'll talk to my team about a lot. But yeah, that's honestly I feel like the main thing.
Wow.
You'll also hear really good musicians hear this concept of serving the song. So like back to what I was talking about of like, you know, if you're taking guitar solo all over everything, it's like really self-serving. If you listen to like, I always point to Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers.
Yeah.
Mike Campbell, one of my favorite guitar players ever, he can play more in one note than most guitar players can play in an entire song full of notes. Like he just has the right feel and he has the right moment of like, this is the exact moment to interject. And that's so true in the work we do as well.
Very good.
Yeah.
I've learned what it means to be a good bandmate. I've learned spiking. I've learned cave moments, everything like that. Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about faith real fast, but before that, remote teams. How do you effectively lead remote teams? Because that's a topic that you're passionate about.
Yeah, for sure. So I've talked about this a bunch, but not all original ideas to me by any means. But remote doesn't work. And this is why I think you see people like debating hybrid or full return to office. Remote doesn't work if you lack in-person time together. So one thing that our company is big about is we call them intentional togetherness gatherings.
Yeah.
And so it's a thing that if you're going to be a remote company, like save the money that you're paying in the office by funding time together.
Yeah.
And so specifically, like, it's not just that they would get together and work together. We build in time where it's like 30% of your time probably should be working on an objective. The rest of it should be working on the relationships. So relationships meaning just like if you came to Austin, go to one of our awesome barbecue places. We're going to pay for it.
Yeah.
Go on the lake and watch each other fall in the river off the paddleboard. So these moments that are like specifically shared experiences are so incredibly key.
Very good.
That, and then I think like one thing that we saw a lot when the world went remote in 2020 is people were scrambling to figure out what things around like tooling, like how do we even do this remotely? Even Atlassian wasn't fully remote before the pandemic. And so like intentionality on like every single thing you do is so key.
Yeah.
I'm big about like what I'll call like soft rituals. So there's a lot of moments in remote where it's like, okay, we have this 30 minutes, we have to get down to business, which is fine. It's a business. But gosh, doesn't it feel better to be teammates instead of like coworkers? And so like if you don't have another time throughout the week or time in person, that's also to be like, hey Tommy, what's going on in your life? Then you're set up for failure. So intentional culture is massive. I think like we've seen some businesses like get really good at this, but I think the ones that are knee jerk to be like, oh, like this isn't working, like everybody back in the office for culture is like, no, like you didn't give it a fair enough shot.
Yeah. How do you deal with underperforming employees, and how do you know when an employee is not getting their job done?
Yeah, well, one of the things that was interesting, because I actually asked this question when I was interviewing for my job on Trello. I was like, what are we measured by?
Yeah.
And one of the things is in remote work, you're not necessarily hiding behind like how funny you are at lunch or any of these things. It's like your performance is your output, and not in a way that's like are we counting the time? Because I actually don't care about that with my employees. It's more like, what was the impact of what your work was? What change we're able to affect? And I actually think in remote world, it's even more clear when people are performing or underperforming, because you have clear signals without noise around it. The other thing is like if you do have an underperformer, clarity is kindness is the phrase that I've heard from a coworker that I really enjoy, where it's like, you do have to be super clear about, this is my expectation, by the way, written down, not, I can't just say, I expect you to kind of do this. Like, it needs to be very clear. This is what the line is and where you're not meeting those expectations. And then also there are areas where, yeah, you've exceeded expectations. But so clarity and communication is humongous for me.
Yeah, yeah. Last question, because I know you have to run to a meeting. When I sit there as a Christ follower, faith, work, integration, God has called you to be in the tech space, may have been different when you were younger and all of those things. How has God been working in your life? What does that faith, work, integration look like with what you're doing right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think like, I just try and show up as the same person everywhere. Like, I've seen a lot of people that are one way at work, one way at church, one way on their street. And I try to be consistently the same everywhere. So treat people how I want to be treated, love people, also just lead not with assumptions. So try to meet everybody where they are. I also don't like, I'm not like preachy about my faith, but I think everyone knows who works with me. So I try and show up as the most like genuine representation of myself, because I know, especially like in tech, there's fewer of us. There's probably also like, we rightfully get a bad rap a lot of times, and so I want to be the person that, you know, we're talking about work, but again, back to like on my street, I also want my neighbors to be like, well, whatever I had conception wise, like this guy's a little bit different than that.
Yeah, very good. One last thing, if people look at you and use your Trello, what is one part of Trello that you love? That is your favorite part of Trello?
Oh man, there's a lot to love. I mean, a lot of the new stuff we're working on right now is worth checking out. Just a week ago, before we recorded this, we released a lot of new features. I think the couple that are saving my life right now is we introduced a new inbox feature to Trello. I'll say, if like Trello team's watching this, like, I didn't believe in this feature at concept phase. I was like, maybe not. But we introduced a way that you can send things to that inbox. So I can forward an email, AI will parse that, isolate all the tasks for me. The other thing is I can, in Slack, I can send a message to Trello just with a click of like one button that, like, especially in our tech circles, we use Slack all the time and there's all these discussions, impossible to keep up with. So like the fact that I can get it into Trello, so that's my like functional brain, is huge for me now. And then I'll deal with it later. And I have like a ritual every Friday to like clear out the inbox.
Oh, because I struggle with Slack because there's so many conversations. I have no idea. I stopped paying attention after a while.
No, so I mean, and that's the thing. So so now you can use Trello plus Slack and make sense of it all.
Very good. Thank you very much, Stu.
Yeah, Tommy, good to see you. Thanks.